They just simply don't need to get out of the way. They don't need to go around your world. On their trajectory, they can simply go through your world.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
When you make agreements with other civilizations in the Alliance to perform services for each other,
Yes.
what are some of the most unique services that you've had to perform for each other?
One of the most unique services that we have performed for other civilizations is creating an energy field in our civilization that allows them to create a temporary body in our civilization to experience our civilization temporarily. Thus, then, when they are done with that experience, they simply pop out, retract their consciousness, and the body dissipates back into energy. Thus, then, they do not have to have what you call a full incarnation. They can have a true physical temporary surrogate experience in one of our forms to experience the sensations of our reality without that full incarnational cycle.
And what do they do for you?
They allow us to perceive emanations that come from their combining of energies that would be akin to what you would call energy music, but it is in that sense silent. But the emanations have color, have frequencies, have patterns that are extremely unique in all the civilizations that we have found, and that we find that these patterns are revealing to us of different aspects of our connection to creation. So it is like they have created a consciousness mirror that when you look into it reveals aspects of yourself that you may have otherwise been unaware of.
Oh, that's deep. Also, when you help bring other civilizations into the Alliance besides us, what are some of the contact methods that you use with them? Because I imagine that their situation is probably very different than ours.
Oh, yes, of course. There are many different contact methods per se. One had to do with the idea of allowing them to appreciate that we understood their musical language. And in that sense, by replicating their musical language, they were willing to communicate. Do you understand?
Yes.
That was their sole criteria for allowing connection to other civilizations. That you had to comprehend and in a sense, repeat back or reflect back very specific tonalities in their musical language for them to understand that a true connection existed. Without that tonal reflection, they have a belief system that says that connection is not appropriate at that timing.
Kind of like with us, we have to see you first before we believe that you're there.
Well, not exactly in that expression. More the idea that we have to understand and experience that there is a piece of us in you before we will know that you know we are all connected. So if you are operating on that level, you will be able to show us that you're operating on that level by reflecting back to us the piece of us that exists within you. And when we see that reflection, we will know that you know we are all connected, and we will feel, in a sense, appropriate in strengthening the connection from that point forward. But without that reflection, they do not allow themselves to form a solid connection to that civilization.
Okay, and for those civilizations that you've already brought over,
Yes.
what was their initial reaction to the first physical contact with
Well,
you?
certainly they don't have all the same reaction. You understand?
Right.
It depends not only on a civilization by civilization basis, it often sometimes depends on the individuals that are first contacted and how they relate to their civilization. But generally speaking, open contact does not really occur until there is at least some measure of coherency and cohesiveness in that civilization. Thus then, even though there are a variety of ways that individual civilizations may respond to first contact, we only make that contact when we now know that the response will generally be positive and beneficial for the entire civilization. Nevertheless, one example of open contact was all individuals in that civilization all at once lying down on the ground facing skyward. This was their way of acting as intermediaries between their planet and the sky. It was their symbol for connecting what you would call heaven and earth. So when we appeared and they recognized that the timing had come for them to connect to beings from the stars, they all lay down on their backs and looked up at the sky as an expression of gratitude and thanks and readiness for acting as intermediaries between their world and the stars.
Nice. Okay. One more thing.
Yes, sir.
You said that you learned from the Thuk how to make people forget that they met you.
Yes.
How were you able to figure out that they had this ability if you can't remember having interacted with them?
As we explored our own consciousness and elevated our own frequency, knowing that something had happened, even though we could not remember what it was our experience of what we call the watermelon seed effect. We knew something had happened, but our consciousness was prevented from knowing what had happened, and so we examined our consciousness until such time as we found a third direction to pitch our consciousness into that allowed us to awaken to the memory of those experiences. So they gave us the opportunity to look in a new direction we had never looked at before within our own consciousness.
Was it with their permission?
Of course.
Oh. And what kinds of applications have the Thuk found for their ability?
We are not allowed to share that information.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
I have been frustrated for a number of years by by the tremendous gaps and blanks in the history that we have access to
Yes.
in the public sense.
Yes.
And if you really get into it, the more you get into it, the more you realize so much of it makes absolutely no sense at
Yes,
all.
well, there are many, many, many things that have happened on your world that most of you are completely unaware of, historically speaking.
Well, my first question is, and forgive me, I know you've been doing these transmissions for such a long time, and you've probably answered this question in some way before. But okay, I'm not familiar. So
that is all right.
Do you know of any reliable account that's accessible of that explains what happened since the development of the first hominid on the planet? I mean, what were the first? Can you talk a little bit about the first waves of migration or invasion of this planet, and of those civilizations that came? I suppose, I imagine there were several.
Many millions of your years ago.
And
there were what have been loosely referred to in one of your ancient languages, Sumerian, a civilization known as the Naki. They came, their precursors came, many millions of your years ago, when there was upon your planet the species that you understand now as Reptilian or Dinosaur. You understand?
Yes.
They took some of the genetic material of those beings and blended it with their own to create a kind of bipedal, hominid appearing type of being that many of you now recognize as reptilian extraterrestrials. But they do not interact with you in the way many of you have been taught to believe that they do. They were the first species transformed upon your planet long before what you call your own hominid species developed. This was what you call many millions of your years ago, approximately 72 million of your years ago. That is the first that we record of such incidents on your world.
So, in other words, what you're saying is that there was no. I mean, the American Indians have a belief that the first in a sense, the first presence on this planet was human, but not...
That was
not,
the first presence within a particular age or era on your planet, not the first of all times.
Well, what I was about to say is the first presence in the ethereal sense, in the cosmic sense, that
Yes.
the spirit, the man-woman principle,
Yes.
rather, oversaw the formation of the planet so that it would be a home that would be suitable to the evolution of our species and so many others that have been able to adapt
Yes,
to it.
but that happens within timelessness. You are asking us about an actual historical timeline.
So, in other words,
Your spirit is timeless. It exists eternally, always has, always will. There is no timeline to that. And so your spirit in that sense, your consciousness in that sense, what you wish to call your soul, witnesses the creation of everything. And the understanding of how its connection to everything will eventually play out in some form of space-time historical linear fashion.
Okay, so following this along, in other words, there was no creature that evolved eventually into hominid
Not on its own.
Before these other the Anunnaki arrived. Is that right?
Correct.
Well, why is it then that there are footprints, there are petrified,
Yes.
preserved footprints in existence where a human footprint
Yes.
coexists in the same space, obviously made at the same time as the dinosaur
Yes.
footprint
Yes.
that is surrounding it, that they must have been made at the same time. How
Yes.
did that happen?
Visitors. Transcending different dimensions of reality. What you would euphemistically call time travel. Parallel reality shifting. Visitors.
Oh, okay. That's amazing.
Even
Okay.
some of you. From your own future, visiting a parallel reality past. That happens to be yours. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
There you go.
Mind blowing, but yes.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
It is all right to have your mind blown now and then. In fact, it might be a good thing.
Another thing too that just is so irritating to me is that there has been no good explanation so far as to what the USOs are, the submersible, unidentified objects that are seen regularly coming
Yes.
in and out of the ocean.
Yes.
What are they?
There
and
are temporary
where-
bases under some of your oceans, and what you typically call UFOs often have the capability of simply going from air underwater and so become USOs. That's all.
But what are these bases? Are they actually in underneath the ocean floor, or are they
Some of
bases
them.
that exist in the water? Where do they go?
Some of them, in that sense, will go into tunnels that are representative of actual physical temporary bases in the crust of your planet. Others, in a sense, will actually simply phase shift themselves and simply go through your planet. They just simply don't need to get out of the way. They don't need to go around your world. On their trajectory, they can simply go through your world. You understand?
Yes, sort of. Okay, and I guess the other question I had was in the last few years, I've gone to a few outdoor concerts at the Greek Theater, the
Oh, all
Hollywood
right.
Bowl, and I believe that I have been aware of the presence of, and this is pretty much the only time I've felt this, but I think I've been aware of the presence of ships
Yes.
in another dimension
Yes.
above the amphitheaters. And
Sometimes that is the case. As
I
we
feel
said,
it
there
is-
are observations being made, and there are, in that sense, observations being allowed from time to time to test the observation capabilities of your people.
Is this typically felt, is what I've experienced is sort of like the tipped me off just to kind of tune in was like an odd pressure on the top of my head, which is, again, the only time I've ever experienced this.
Different people will experience it in different ways. That happens to be what works for you.
And so the inhabitants of these ships, where are they from, by the way? Are they
Different places.
Okay. And are they then, they're testing to see if we pick up on their being
Yes.
there too? Oh, okay.
To gauge whether you are ready for contact. To stretch your senses. To expand your idea that you exist and can perceive in more than one dimension. Thus then allowing you to elevate your frequency, and in elevating your frequency, giving all of us the signal that you're willing to meet us halfway. Create a third reality in which we can both interact. All right?
Yeah,
That will do.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. At this timing, we will now extend to each and every one of you our deepest appreciation for allowing for the co-creation this day of your time of this transmission and the sharing with you of the crystallization of the structure of beliefs within your consciousness. The tool is yours to use as you will. Use it well. Our unconditional love to you all, and a fond, exciting, creative, and joyful bless you. Good day. Good day. You will enjoy life more if you do. You will enjoy everything more if you do. Let go of the things that are not you. Let go of the things you don't know and don't need to know right now. For you will know them when you do need to know them. As the energy on your planet accelerates, as you allow yourself more and more glimpses, more and more experiences, more and more opportunities to experience the knowing state, which is, as we pointed out, as simple as easy as saying, I am. The more you allow that knowing state to permeate all of your life, every situation, every circumstance, no matter how seemingly mundane, no matter how seemingly small, doesn't matter. The more you do that, I guarantee you, the more you will suffer when you don't do that. Now, if that isn't some incentive, I don't know what is. I do not do it to scare you. I do not say it to make you afraid. We say it to let you know you are truly free to live in that knowing state and to live in it freely enough to know that you don't need to know everything all at once. Just what you need at that moment. We do not wish you to suffer. You do not wish you to suffer unless you do. But it's your choice. You don't have to believe us. You don't need to believe us. But you need to decide for yourselves what state you prefer. And you need to decide for yourself that it's easy to create that state. I am. The dots on the paper. The higher airplane. That's where you live. That's where you live. In that mansion, that gorgeous, beautiful, creative, shining, sparkling mansion. You do not need to live in the squalor of beliefs that do not serve you. If you choose to do so, understand that you're choosing to do so. There are no exceptions. But you don't need to do so. You can be in knowing. You can. Because I have just shown you. It's as easy as I am. As soon as you say that, as soon as you remember that, you are in a knowing state. There is no reason and no excuse that says, I can't create the knowing state. Because it is too simple to do. So if you say, I can't get to the knowing state, I guarantee you this, from this point forward, we won't believe you. Say it out loud. I am.
I am.
It is an absolute fact. You didn't have to repeat that. But thank you for doing so. Shows you are in the moment. Because it's true. It is an absolute fact. If you want to say it out loud, by all means. It's an absolute fact. That I am. There is absolutely nothing that can contradict this. Nothing exists that can contradict this. If you are, then you are. That's it. Isness is your only quality. It can become nothing else. Isness, the quality itself, can become nothing else. Yes, within creation, you can experience becoming many things, but all of them still exhibit isness. They all still exist. You still exist. No matter what you become, you still exist. Existence is your basic quality. That can't change. It is the first law. It doesn't change. It is. It is. It is. It is. It is. You are. You are. You are. You are. I am. I am. I am. I am. I am. Even if it were possible for you to suddenly not exist at all, you'd never know it, so why bother caring? Why spend time worrying about it? You would never know it had happened. But if you do exist, I guarantee, because all that is guarantees by its very nature, if you exist, there is only now, so you must always exist, because there is only now. There's only now in which to exist. And if you exist in the only now there is, you always will, because there's only one now. That's it. So here you are. You're part of the club. Lifetime, 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 lifetime to infinity membership. Free of charge. Forever. Start taking advantage of membership privileges. It's up to you. Stay in your knowingness. It's up to you. But now you know it is simplicity itself to be in that state. There is no rationale whatsoever that will make sense anymore that says that state cannot be achieved, because it is the actual easiest state to achieve, because it's the most basic state to achieve. So start from there, let it be obvious, and let the obviousness filter into every aspect of your life, and let it be all right to not know what you don't know. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to have absolute serenity in your life. On every level, for everything. Be in the now. Be in the knowing. Do you think it's an accident that in your language the words now and know are so close in structure? Be in the now and you will know. Be in knowing and you will always be in the now. Always. It's that simple. What is your time frame? We know you enjoy conferring about time. We will give you an opportunity to do so. You mean before the break? Did that make you feel good? Have you come to a consensus now about the difference between time and timing?
I was referring to the entire session, but I didn't realize we were having another break, so we're in agreement.
I see. So the same event produced two different perceptions. Thank you for being an illustration of our first demonstration.